The People's Republic of China will celebrate its 75th founding anniversary on October 1st of this year. On this anniversary, expect the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, to celebrate its own achievements and persuade the Chinese people of the CCP's contributions to improving China's global stature. The leaders of the CCP argue that they have reasserted China's status as one of the world's great nations, a position it lost after the First Opium War and the Treaty of Nanking. It is true that China has experienced tremendous growth, rising to become the second-largest economy in the world, and is enhancing its nuclear and military capabilities to assert an aggressive and confrontational foreign policy that poses a challenge to the West, particularly the United States. Despite the fanfare of celebration, China does have several challenges on its horizons that an anniversary celebration will not solve. The CCP faces the longer-term challenge of maintaining a stable society, but it appears to be taking steps to improve it. The first priority has been to promote nationalism within the population. The goal of promoting nationalism is to set the Chinese people apart from other nations, foster a sense of pride in their unique characteristics, and encourage them to act as a group, prioritizing the national interest over individual self-interest. The CCP has shaped nationalism by embracing China's past and asserting its position as a great nation in the world, making the CCP an integral part of the country's history and identity. This approach is intriguing, given that the Communist Revolution aimed to transcend national boundaries and initiate a worldwide revolution to overthrow the ruling classes. China is not unique in this regard. In World War II, Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin used nationalism and patriotism to rally Soviet soldiers to make sacrifices in the name of Mother Russia that they would not make for socialism. As a result, he de-emphasized the role of communism, its campaign of terror and purges, and its role in creating the Holodomor. By stoking nationalism, a society can unite against a common enemy, or those seeking to harm the nation and take its collective mind off of its domestic issues. The CCP manipulated the emotions of its citizens by reminding them of the 9/18 anniversary, also referred to as the Manchurian Incident, a Japanese plot to implicate the Chinese government and use it as a pretext for their invasion of Manchuria in 1931. The government aimed to incite protests against the Japanese by reminding the people of the incident and the humiliation the Japanese inflicted, leading to government-endorsed demonstrations against Japan in China. The protests also resulted in the stabbing death of a 10-year-old Japanese boy who was attending a Japanese school in Shenzhen, China, as well as the stabbing death of the Chinese bus driver who was transporting the children. Sometimes pushing people's emotions into a frenzy can have unintended consequences. The CCP also sent 34 fighters into the Taiwan Strait and crossed the maritime boundary between China and Taiwan and into the Taiwan Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADs, on the morning of September 25th local time, which triggered Taiwan to launch aircraft and activate its air defense system in response. This was the largest incursion in months by China against Taiwan. The CCP largely viewed this action as another way to demonstrate its strength to its people and remind Taiwan of the 75th anniversary of the CCP's takeover of China, which also marked the time when Mao Zedong's Communist Revolution forced the nationalist Chinese forces to retreat from the Chinese mainland to the island of Taiwan. Stoking the national sentiment and showing strength before the Chinese people toward their enemies is a way to unite people and have them forget about their everyday individual challenges. This is not unique to China, as many other countries, including the West, also engage in similar tactics. Creating a common enemy such as Japan and Taiwan and its supporters, such as the United States, can create the impression of mortal danger to the Chinese people, and they must stand against them so as to never face the humiliation these countries are responsible for inflicting on the Chinese people. The CCP is cognizant of the delicate state of their society, which nationalist sentiments alone cannot adequately address. The Chinese people are facing demographic headwinds from an aging and shrinking population, increasing unemployment, national and local debt, a housing bubble, deflation, potential sanctions from the West over China's support of Russia in the Ukraine war, and one of the slowest GDP forecasts in decades. The Lowy Institute, an Australian think tank, upheld its previous ranking of China as the second most powerful nation in the Asian theater, but acknowledged that despite its military prowess increasing, it has peaked and plateaued due to economic headwinds. Also, the CCP is about to raise the retirement age in an effort to reduce debt, by reducing retirement benefits. These economic headwinds are a serious challenge to the CCP. The Chinese government this week, so concerned about the economic issues and their destabilizing impacts, announced a major stimulus package to reduce interest rates, lower bank reserve requirements, and lower existing mortgage interest rates. The overall goal is to increase spending by making loans more affordable and reducing the mortgages of property owners, with the goal of increasing consumer confidence. The policy decision aims to boost the economy, counteract deflation, and reduce youth unemployment, currently hovering around 19%. The measure also includes one-time cash handouts to the poorest Chinese, a stated attempt to boost confidence before the 75th anniversary, but also a crude way to use cash to solidify support for the CCP leadership. The 75th anniversary marks a significant milestone for the CCP, as it has achieved significant accomplishments, such as lifting 800 million people out of poverty in the last 40 years after opening its markets to the West, which was a product of capitalism, not socialism. Since stepping up its global aggression, it has created instability and uncertainty in international affairs. Before it can exert force abroad, it needs to stabilize its society. However, the paradox lies in the fact that the more assertive it becomes abroad, the more forceful its international opponents react, typically with an economic response. This, in turn, exacerbates the situation for the Chinese economy and its society. The gathering alliance in the Western Pacific also means that economic responses may not be the only response, as Japan, Australia, and New Zealand sailed warships through the Taiwan Straits in direct defiance of the CCP's warnings. Society needs nationalism to justify a more aggressive war-preparing stance, but addressing the economic conditions is crucial to sustain the belief in nationalist causes. Even a totalitarian state needs to have a level of social stability that is not wholly reliant on intimidation, threats, and fear.